What's going on, guys? You found Bottom Tier Collector. I'm your host, the Bearded One, bringing you a bottom tier story from a bottom tier reader. I know what it looks like, but we're not doing a Wolverine story today. We're doing Deadpool 1. That's right, Deadpool Volume 1, Number 1. Written, oddly enough, by Mark Waid. Didn't know that when I opened up the book. I would have assumed Rob Liefeld would have taken over writing duties for Deadpool number 1, or at least artist duties, but Rob Liefeld is nowhere to be seen in Deadpool Volume 1, Number 1. I guess he's off at Image by this is 1994, so Rob Liefeld's probably definitely mostly at Image right now doing Blood Wolf and what else did he do? Bloodstrike? Youngblood? And some other things. Wildcats is Jim Lee. He definitely did Youngblood in the early 90s and created Blood Wolf by 1995, 1996. And that's all I remember of Rob Liefeld. But yes, this is Mark Waid. I can't remember the artist. You'll have to look that up on your own. Sorry, guys. But an interesting book. We'll get right into the story and anything ancillary I have to talk about, we'll shove that to the end of the video. So, we're taking right into a scene of prisoners of some sort. I don't know who these prisoners are. And they're shaking in their bones because they hear screams coming from this dungeon. And we're given a narration. I don't know who's narrating the comic at this point in time. But the narrating is talking about bones being slipped, or skin and flesh being slipped off the bones, and hearing these screams. And then we're taken into the dungeon area where Tom Cassidy, or Black Tom, depending on how much you know about the X-Men, he's a mutant. I don't know what's going on with Tom Cassidy or Black Tom. We're kind of jumped into what seems like the middle of a story arc, but apparently he's got some kind of disease infecting his body. I don't even really know much about Black Tom's mutant abilities. But what seems to be going on is his body can transform into wood. And the wood, whatever genes are mutating into wood, is like taking over his body. And it's like a painful process. And we get some dialogue between some government agency. And I believe its name is Dr. Kilbrew. He's like a quacky scientist, doctor, medical doctor that specializes in regenerative abilities and mutations and so forth. And they're having a conversation about curing Black Tom, and the government pulling a lot of strings to bring this Dr. Kilbrew here. And they suddenly hear a loud bang coming from the metal workshop, and the government agent tends to blow it off. But Dr. Kilbrew takes note of it. And they go back to their conversation, just kind of ignoring the sound. And then the sound gets louder, and they're like, what's going on, And then the sound reaches this door. We see the imprint of a character, somebody on the steel barricade door, closing off the laboratory, and lo and behold, it's Juggernaut. What a surprise. Surprised me, totally unexpected. Juggernaut enters the room, takes Black Tom, apparently Black Tom, Tom Cassidy, whatever you want to call him, and Juggernaut are buddies, I guess, and maybe they're friends with Magneto. That's what the word I was looking for. Maybe they're friends with Magneto. I don't know. I'm not real well versed in my X-Men history. But he snatches Black Tom and he gets out of there, to the avail of the government agents and everybody trying to shoot Juggernaut. Nobody can take him down, obviously. Nothing can stop the Juggernaut. That's the whole gimmick, right? And we see a quick snapshot of they also, before I get into the next scene, they also take Dr. Kilbrew with them. And we see a quick snapshot of Kilbrew's files that he's holding. And Slade T. Wilson. That is Deadpool's name. I almost said Deathstroke's name. Slade T. Wilson's file is in the arms of Dr. Kilbrew. And that's the last we see of Tom Cassidy, Juggernaut, and Killbrew. And we're immediately taken over to a bar. And it looks like this book doesn't do a great job of explaining many of the characters. So I have to draw on what I think I know about Marvel. It appears Luke Cage is running the bar in this next act, the second act of the comic book. I'm not entirely sure that it's Luke Cage, because if it was Luke Cage, what comes next in Act 2, Luke Cage definitely would have helped Deadpool. But Deadpool is talking about his fight with Wolverine from Wolverine 88. I believe he's talking to a female patron of the bar, and the bartender quietly says, without Deadpool noticing, he tells the lady to humor Deadpool, which I thought was kind of funny. It's like Deadpool has trouble getting his own chicks, and we'll find out why Deadpool can't land a chick. She comes over and talks to him, and he's telling her about his fight with Wolverine, and then he reveals himself, what he really looks like. And she breaks her glass. She's like, ah! Drops her glass and runs out the door. And then we get the typical melodrama from Deadpool. You know, I don't have the witty banter today. I'm moping. I'm depressed. You know, it's hard being Deadpool. That kind of thing. He's moping around, and some villains of some type. They look like cyborgs, or maybe they're just guys in exoskeleton armor suits. Not sure. But while Deadpool's talking to himself, they say fire. It's one of the many gags in the book. One of the many gags in a Deadpool book, period. Deadpool's talking to himself as they've given the command to fire on Deadpool. And right before Deadpool explodes, the whole place explodes. In a Looney Tunes-esque fashion, Deadpool snaps from his inner monologue and says, fire. And then, boom, the bar explodes. And they think they've beaten Deadpool. One of the bad guys gives the order to bag and tag Deadpool. And of course, Deadpool's not dead, right? We all know of Deadpool's regenerative abilities. Deadpool rises up from the ashes of the bar and proceeds to kick butt. Starts fighting off the soldiers and stuff. And the fight takes a turn. They freeze Deadpool. And this sound, this deafening sound is coming, reverberating through the bar, through the area of the fight. I originally thought at first read Deadpool was possibly whistling, or he set off some gadget while he was frozen in the block of ice. But it was not Deadpool. It's revealed to be Banshee. Was using his supersonic mutation abilities to cripple the villains that have frozen Deadpool, and he eventually breaks out of this. Deadpool eventually breaks out of this cube of ice, which I thought was brilliant. If you can't destroy Deadpool, freeze him, right? Freeze him in his tracks. Brilliant move. Kudos to Mark Waid for if he made that decision. I don't know if Tom DeFalco, the editor, made that decision or not, but kudos to Mark Waid here for thinking to freeze Deadpool. That really added to the fight, made it a little interesting. But nevertheless, it doesn't work. Banshees arrived, Deadpool breaks free, and they meet, seemingly for the first time. I did a little background reading on this. Apparently, this is the first meeting of Deadpool and Banshee. And they proceed to kick butt of the bad guys, and then this other redheaded mutant comes in who's not named Jean Grey. She's named Teresa, and they're all bantering back and forth. We're getting explained. There's a lot of exposition in this part of the comic book. We're getting explained how Tom Cassidy has sent these guys to chase Slade, Deadpool, and Banshee, and Teresa are there to aid Deadpool and get him out of Tom Cassidy's way. This harkens back to that first scene where we saw Dr. Kilbrew with the file. So we assume somewhere off panel, Cassidy and Kilbrew have had a conversation, figured out the way to get. I assume what's going on is Tom Cassidy is trying to get cured through Slade's DNA. That's what I assume is going on here. But we don't know that. Mark Waid doesn't explain everything. You kind of have to piece it together in your mind, which is really good writing. Give you enough clues to be able to critically think and piece something together. And we get an editor's note that they refer to something from Deadpool, the Circle Chase. And then Banshee assumes that he doesn't know Deadpool. And then Deadpool says, remember the Farouk affair. So something else you may need to read. And we'll get into that a little later in the book. Through all this exposition, we're learning that Black Tom has sent all the bad guys to capture Deadpool. I think I've explained that a little earlier in the video, but Banshee is going to go get some information from Interpol, and he kind of exits out of the scene. Banshee has decided to stay with Deadpool. She thinks that's the best course of action, is to protect Deadpool and keep an eye on Deadpool. And the bad guys want more. Round 2, right? Some of the bad guys recover and begin to fight Deadpool more, and we get this shadow player. He's only in one panel. He's basically a purple and blue Deadpool. Don't know anything about him, but he attacks Deadpool. You know, we get the generic, you don't get it, do you? And it seems like this isn't really shown in the panels. It seems like the bad guys are put down, or they've finally run off the scene. And we get a little bit of dialogue between Deadpool and Teresa. And the book kind of ends in a cool way from first-person point of view of Deadpool's eyes, where we're gathering that Deadpool's healing factor is not working correctly, and he slips into unconsciousness as the book ends. So Deadpool 1 reads kind of fast, even though there's a lot of exposition in there. The flow is kind of weird. There's a lot of action. It feels like a very 90s action-packed book. However, there is a lot of exposition in here, a lot of, I don't want to say story building per se. We get some character moments, some relationship building, and we get action. It's got really a lot in here. It's kind of a dense book, but then parts of it are not very dense. I don't know, the pacing is very much like a roller coaster, and it made it a little hard to follow. I had to go back and review some of the book while filming this review, just because it was hard to soak it all in at one time and just kind of free flow the review. And some things are not explained very clear. Who's this shadow player? The purple and blue Deadpool character that's in one panel. Don't know nothing about him. Never saw what happened to Deadpool that causes his regenerative factor not to work. Never saw the bad guys leave. Never see Banshee leave, although that doesn't need to be spoon-fed. I don't actually need to see Deadpool, or I don't actually need to see Banshee leave, but I feel like it's important to see what's going on with the antagonists in this issue. We're not sure if Wade's passing out while they're surrounded by antagonists. We're not sure if the antagonists have left the scene. Again, the shadow player, I don't really know what's going on with that, and I didn't really like that wasn't explained. I don't really like that this whole book feels like it's in the middle of a story arc, the continuation of something that led into Deadpool 1 rather than a number 1. It doesn't. I feel like number 1s are supposed to be kind of a jumping on point for new readers, and this book does not feel like a jumping on point, and I think a lot of that is due to Mark Waid's writing. He's referencing a lot of older material. He references Wolverine 88, although that's a little spoon-fed for you. That's a little cut and dry. But if you want the details of Wolverine 88, I would read Wolverine 88. They do leave a nice editor's note there to read Deadpool, the Circle Chase, I believe. I had to look it up and Google it before I made my closing remarks. It's the big black one shot, I believe, where it's got Deadpool in red across the entire cover, and then Deadpool's kind of in the middle of the cover. It's a dollar bin book. You know, if you're a Deadpool fan and you're looking for it, it shouldn't be too hard to find. I definitely want to go back and read the Circle Chase now. And then they also explain something called the Farouk Affair, but there's no editor's note, so I don't really know if that's a canonical thing, but Deadpool's saying he met Banshee during the Farouk Affair. I would like to have some background notes on that, and Mark Waid didn't provide that. But that's really all the criticism I have of Mark Waid. I don't really think it feeling like it's in the middle of a storyline being really his fault. Maybe he wrote the Circle Chase and this continues from that, or maybe he kind of had to jump on in the middle of an arc and just kind of fit a #1 in there. Not sure what happened with that, but overall, I'm not too overly unsatisfied with Mark Waid. I feel like he captured the essence of the character. There was a lot of comedy there. Teresa and Banshee are father and daughter, and he referred to Banshee as Teresa's husband, called him hubby, and she was like, "What are you talking about?" When he reveals his mask to the girl at the bar, that's a pretty funny gag. The Looney Tunes moment I referenced about him saying fire, and then the bar explodes, and then there's other puns and tongue-in-cheek jokes there, but it's not like today's Deadpool where it's really childish and really easy for. It's kind of like family-friendly Deadpool these days, and it's not. He's not written with a lot of wit and clever dialogue anymore. It's way more tongue-in-cheek these days, and it feels like this Deadpool is a lot more intelligent and a lot more witty than the current Deadpool, who just feels like a goofy dunce, like he's a former burnout from drugs and he's feeling the residual effects even though he's sober, kind of thing. Like his brain was fried more than once. Whereas in this comic, it feels a little more like, I don't know if I should say this. It feels a little bit more like the movie, where he's got his wits about him. He's still got intelligence. His brain doesn't appear fried, and he's just a depressed, sociopathic, murderous merc with a mouth, right? The art was standard fare. I wouldn't say I fell in love with the art. Like, Deadpool's head looks way smaller than his hand in this image. The belt buckle on the strap right here is the same size as Deadpool's head. And then Teresa and Banshee look a little proportionally incorrect in certain panels, and I didn't really care for that. But overall, it was standard fare. I didn't hate the art. I don't want to be overly critical of the art because it really was not that bad. It felt like the 90s, and I loved it. It was, the half of the reason you enjoy comic books is for the art, right? And the art definitely took me back to the 90s, and it got the job done. So don't want to be overly critical of the art. It was the least of my concerns with the book. It was still a great book. I know I've had a little bit more criticism of this book than I've had of other books. I still love this book. I've got a weird relationship with Deadpool. When I first got into comic books, a super Deadpool mark got me into comic books, and the more I got to know the guy, the less I started to like the guy. And now I'm pretty much of the opinion that he's just a douchebag, and I'm no longer friends with the guy anymore, which is a shame because I had some good memories, being around the guy before. Just kind of a shame that the friendship fell out. I'm of an age now where I don't like to let petty disputes and grudges get in the way of cool friendships. But because of that guy, I didn't like Deadpool for the longest time. Like, that douchebag likes Deadpool. Like, I want to stay away as far away as I can from Deadpool. I've got my Lobo. I don't need Deadpool. There's only room in my heart for one character that breaks the fourth wall and tells jokes and is super violent. But I'm changing that now that I'm older and I don't have anything to prove. I'm not an elitist anymore. I used to be terrible elitist, thinking I was just so elite. I had all these fancy cultured tastes in anything I was into, and it's such garbage to think that way. And now that I don't have that mentality anymore, I'm giving Deadpool a chance, and I really enjoy this early take on Deadpool. The only other Deadpool comic I've ever read is the 250th celebration comic, and I didn't really like it at all. I don't know where the personality change starts with Deadpool, but I could definitely see myself collecting like the New Mutants material of Deadpool. I could see myself collecting this miniseries, and I could see myself collecting the Deadpool Volume 2, the very famous run all the hardcore Deadpool fans know that Daniel Way wrote in the 90s. I could see myself collecting those runs. Because this book was a good first impression. There it is, David's Comics and Wrestling. You're continuing this feud of, Deadpool being so much better than Lobo and Lobo being DC's Deadpool. Well, I've read an actual Deadpool #1, his first solo now. I gotta say I prefer Lobo #1, and I gotta say Lobo is definitely Deadpool's daddy. I still prefer Lobo to Deadpool. So you may have your thoughts and opinions over there, David, but I'm here to tell you, you can't change my heart. I'm giving Deadpool a chance, and I still have Lobo as my GOAT. I'd also like to shout out Dan's X-Men Comics. I believe that's his channel name. He commented, I don't like to ask for stuff from you guys. I don't like to ask for the subs, the comments, and all. Well, I do ask for comments. I like social interaction. I will ask for comments, but and that's kind of where I'm getting at. I asked for you guys to comment on my Wolverine #1 review and let me know if you guys want to see me review Wolverine #1. I even threatened you guys in a further video, a more recent video than that one, that I will not review any more Wolverine comics until somebody tells me they want to see more Wolverine. Because I'm taking it as a no if nobody tells me they want to see more Wolverine reviews or not. And lo and behold, someone who's not even a long-time subscriber, someone that I'm not even aware of on YouTube, Dan's X-Men Comics, God bless you for the comment, sir, said he wanted to see more Wolverine. So because of you, not for any of you long-time subscribers, I was hoping somebody I was friends with in the community would do me the favor of letting me know if they like my Wolverine reviews or not. Would like to see more, would comment. But hey, hey, no offense, Dan's X-Men Comics. It does not matter that you're not a long-time subscriber. I thank you for your comments, sir. That you want to see more Wolverine comics. And for you, Dan's X-Men Comics, I will review more Wolverine comics. I think going forward, the reviews are going to be about Wolverine Volume 2. And I think I'm going to break it up into chunks. I'm not going to go the full 190 issue run plus annuals nonstop. That's going to be, there's 52 weeks in a year. I do one review a week. That's over 3 years of my life. It'd be almost 4 years of my life. Just doing the Wolverine Volume 2. So what I think I'm going to do, and we're going to break this up into 20 issue chunks. And once we do issue 20, I won't host anything. I will post some kind of a poll asking you guys if you want me to continue to do 20 more Wolverine comics, or if you'd like me to stop and review other stuff. Because I get ADD. I think you guys can tell if any of you guys are watching this that watch my WrestleMania series. I just get ADD, and it's hard for me to stay on track with series. But I think I can last for 20 issues of Wolverine before maybe I need to change up the pace. But I'm going to let you guys start getting involved with the channel. Thank you again, Dan's X-Men Comics, for supplying that comment and let me know you want to see more Wolverine. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to let you guys, probably from here on out, start deciding what I read. Now, I might choose the options you have to vote on, but I'll let you guys have the final say-so in what I'm reading from now on, once we get to Wolverine issue 20. That'll do me, guys, for now. Thank you for listening to this review. Hope this helped you out. I couldn't find a lot of Google images. I like to throw up the images of the comic book. I need to start buying these comics digitally so I own the images and I can supply any page I want. I'm kind of at the mercy of Google right now in these reviews, but I try to put up the picture, the only pictures I can find to help the review be a little more enjoyable. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I had fun reading this comic. I have fun doing this series. As always, thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting, and until next time, guys.